Good afternoon, friends. Now we are into the next topic of French Revolution. This is the final video. We'll complete it because now it is maybe one or two topics are left. So let the video be long, but we'll complete this. The next one is the abolition of slavery. Now, one of the most revolutionary social reforms of the Jacobean regime was abolition of slavery in French colonies. Now, French colonies, like what are French colonies? First of all, like India was a British colony. Britishers were ruling us. Similarly, if you see in USA, United States of America, there were 13 French colonies which were ruling there. So what used to happen, because when they were ruling there, they did plantations, they did industries. So all these things, they required people to work for them. But French people did not go there to work, and local residents were less. So what happened, generally from people from South Africa were traded with them as slaves. So what happened? People will go to South Africa. There they will take some people with them. They lure them for work and all. Then they'll go and they sell those people to the French colonies. There they'll work as slaves. So first thing is the Jacobean clubs, or in the Jacobean regime, it was abolition of slavery. This trade began in the 17th century. Okay, so French merchants sailed from the ports of Bordeaux and Nantes to the African coast, where they brought slaves from these local chieftains. What used to happen? Suppose if there is a community, there was a chief of that community. What he would do? He would sell those people to these traders. Then what they will do? They will shackle them in the chains, and they will sail them towards the America, from Africa to America. There they will sell them again. To whom they will sell to the plantation owners, where they required many people to work. So these slaves were sold to them. The exploitation of these slaves labor made it possible to meet growing demand in the European markets for sugar, coffee and indigo. All these three things, sugar, coffee, indigo, they are plantation things. You will see this in your chapter of agriculture in geography. So these require a lot of people to, it's labor intensive. So lot of labor is required. For this, these slaves were traded. Now these two port cities, Bordeaux and Nantes, they flourished because of this slave trade. So port cities like Bordeaux and Nantes owed means they owed to someone, owed their economic prosperity to the flourishing slave trade. So this was about slave trade. Now when you talk about abolition of slave trade, the main thing comes is, this was started in 17th century, but the government, or the you can say the legislative body of the assembly, they in the 18th century they wanted to make many laws about this. Throughout the 18th century, the National Assembly held long debates about whether the rights of man, because those were also French colonies, and here the citizens were getting rights, so the slaves should also get the rights, and so the slave trade should be abolished. This was debates and discussions, but sorry. But they did not make any laws because they feared that businessmen will get opposed to them. So, but it did not pass any laws fearing opposition from businessmen whose income depended on the slave trade. It was finally in the Convention of 1794 that legislated, or they made a law to free all slaves in the French overseas positions. Wherever French colonies were there, they abolished this slave trade. But this was for a very short time, because of Napoleon Bonaparte. This, however, turned out to be short measure, because 10 years later Napoleon reintroduced slavery. Slavery was finally abolished in French colonies in 1848 after Napoleon. So there is a term we call Negroes. What is this term? Negroes, a term used for indigenous people of Africa. They're African people south of the Sahara. It is a derogatory term. It's not a good term. It's a derogatory, insulting term, not in common use any longer. We don't use it, this kind of terms any longer. Okay, so this is basically all about French Revolution. Now this impacted the everyday life of